You're listening to GotTechED the Podcast with your hosts, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson.
Welcome back to GotTechED the Podcast. This is episode 56 called Teacher Resources for Distance Learning Practices. In this episode, we'll share some extensive resources for virtual, distant, at-home learning and a list of EdTech companies that are doing their part by offering some free services. This is an episode that you can't miss, so check it out. All right, let's get right into this. In the last episode, we talked about 18 different ways that you could use distant learning in the classroom, and we provided a site to kind of help guide you through those. Well, today we want to talk a little bit about some distant learning resources that other people are providing that we really like. And then we want to go into some of the EdTech companies that are stepping up and saying, hey, we're at a unique time. We want to do our part. We want to help out. So we're going to give all the educators and students our services, our premium services for free, or we're going to give you something, whether it's just a release of a couple things that you could use that we would normally have to pay for. So I think that's all very cool. So let's just get right into some distant learning resources. Nick, I'll have you kick it off because I know there's three that you really like.
Yeah, I think it's crazy how fast the EdTech world kind of stepped it up and started sharing out all this information to teachers that's been there for a long time, but it's just now more important than ever because everybody's kind of forced to use the EdTech and to engage in this virtual learning platform. So I just think it's great how everybody across the board, whether it's podcasters or bloggers or these EdTech companies themselves, like you put it, they've really stepped up to this challenge to help people. So the resources that I found are specific to this pandemic-inspired transition to online learning. The first one is from the Academy of Active Learning Arts and Sciences. They teamed up with the Flipped Learning Global Initiative, and they've used the term a roadmap for transitioning to online learning. In this sort of rapid fire way, which for some people is going to be easier than others. So this resource, I think, is particularly good for people that are finding this transition difficult because their roadmap, as they put it, kind of lays out some steps you could take, some things to begin with, some things to build up to, just kind of giving you a path to follow as you develop these online tools that you now have to create. So that's my first one. Links for all these, by the way, in the show notes, of course. The second one I found is called 37 Free Resources for Teachers Shifting to Online Learning for the Coronavirus. This is done by schoolchoiceweek.com. So if you go there and check out that link, or you can just Google it, I'm sure it'll pop up. You can find these 37 resources. It's an amazing place that just lists a bunch of different platforms you can use, all categorized. It tells you if they're free or if they're not. I think everything on their list actually either normally free or has been made free for teachers during this time. And my favorite thing about this list of 37 things is they also have links for exactly how to access and sign up or gain access to the special free premium version of all the things on there. So this is a great one to check out. And then lastly is I chose it because it's unique. It's actually an app. It's called the Coronavirus Education Resources app. If you click on the link in our show notes, it'll take you to a place where you can download that app. And once you download it, it sort of gives you access to all these things. This would be if you prefer to use your phone, of course, to sort of scan through some different resources and find stuff that way. Maybe if you don't or can't have your computer in front of you for a certain amount of time, this app seems to be like another cool spot to find stuff out. So those are the three distance learning resources that I've selected. I know Geis has some other ones that are pretty cool also.
All three of yours are pretty amazing. I've checked them out. There are a couple things that I might steal from a couple of those resources. So what I did is I went to my PLN on Twitter. My PLN is unique. I have my science people from my science teaching days. I have my EdTech coaches from, now. And I also have some podcaster friends and some Twitter chat friends that I often run into on there. My first one Comes from the host of the Sweet Talk podcast and YouTube channel, Kim Matina, and she put together a remote learning resource website. All the links for these resources will be in the show notes. Similar to what we did with our resource Google site, she did the same thing, but she has a lot of different activities on there that I think are very valuable. And she also has her collection of teacher resources that she found on Twitter that she thinks very useful. So go over and check out Kim Matina's Google site. The next one is super cool. I know there's some ELA teachers out there that might be struggling with the pandemic teaching methods, and really this is every teacher, but this resource is probably more for the ELA teachers. There's a site called Virtual Author Visits. This is absolutely free, and these are authors that are willing to basically set up a Google Meet with your class or whatever program that they want to use. There are tons of authors out there that are willing to talk to your classes, and they are categorized by grade. So I know there's elementary, middle, youth, YA stuff, so forth. So virtual author visits, super cool. And the last one is from probably one of my favorite people on Twitter. I don't believe I ever ran into her at one of the conferences or anything like that, but Sarah Thomas. She's the creator and founder of EduMatch book publishing, but she is all over Twitter. I run into her at a lot of Twitter chats and things like that. But she made a distance learning Padlet board, and this thing has so many resources. It's overwhelming, but if you just look at a couple when you're not trying to find something, so many good things on there. So those are my three: Kim Matina's Virtual Author Visits and Sarah Thomas's Padlet board.
So with any of these things, like you said, it can be pretty overwhelming. I think an approach that I like to take, because if you just go and click on one of these links in our show notes, you do sort of get that overwhelming feeling of like, oh my gosh, how can I ever come close to doing all this? So it's almost better to decide what you want to do ahead of time and then check the list to find something specific to that. It's better if you have like a goal in mind almost. And if you don't have a goal in mind, to sort of save yourself from that sort of feeling of being overwhelmed by just all the things you actually can do. I like to go to these lists, these sort of list blogs or list sites, and scroll until I see the first one that jumps out at me. And then I stop. And I just click on that one and I just learn that one thing. And if I like it, then good. I learned one good thing and I didn't feel overwhelmed because I just focused on it. It's just a strategy that I've used different times because it does kind of get to be a lot. So those are 6 of our favorite resources. Stay tuned for the next segment where we've put together a list of some of our favorite EdTech companies that are upgrading teacher accounts to the premium version for free during this pandemic.
You can follow GotTechED outside the podcast at GotTech.com or on Twitter at WeGotTechED.
All right, so let's get straight into segment 2. Guys talked a little bit earlier about how so many of these EdTech companies and websites are stepping up for teachers and sort of filling this void of all of a sudden we have to be doing virtual online learning. There is no choice. So maybe we should give out some premium services for free. And a lot of them are doing that. You might have already been getting some emails from the tech coaches at your school or your administration letting you know about these things. But we tried to do the same thing here, but sort of put all of it in one place for things that we specifically like or talk about a lot. So the first one, and this was a big one for me that I found, was all of your Adobe Cloud apps. This includes things like Adobe Spark, right? Your image editing software. They've extended all of this for free. Even the online version of Photoshop, that's an Adobe product. They're letting teachers use that for free. We have a link in the show notes that tells you exactly how to get how to access this free service. That's a huge one because Adobe does so many different things. So I was happy to get to feature that today.
All right. I think some of these we could just run down
Yep.
without explanation. The next one,
Agreed.
This is one of my favorites for my children. This is for young children ages 2 to 8, and that's ABC Mouse. So they're also providing services for free. So all of the things that we talk about, all the EdTech tools and everything, they have the link in the show notes. So just go check it out, go click on it, and you can see specifics on, what products and what services they're providing for free.
So another one that's opening up free is called Bloomz, Bloomz. I've actually never used Bloomz before, but I checked that out. It looks pretty cool. Basically, it's a communication service. So if you need a good way to get information fast to students and parents, you can do freetrial.bloomz.com/coronavirus schools. Again, the link in our show notes for Bloomz.
Next up is Epic. Epic is providing free access to their online reading platform. Going right into the next one, Google Hangouts Meet premium version is free through July 1st.
Also, Kahoot Premium. You used to playing Kahoot in your class, right? But kids can, of course, play their own Kahoot game from home. And the premium version for that has been made free for students. I'll do the next one. Also, Microsoft Teams. We did an episode a ways back comparing Microsoft Teams to the Google learning environment in Google Classroom. So for any Microsoft people out there where your school maybe hasn't switched to this Google world that so many educators live in, a lot of the Teams platform has been made free for teachers during this time as well.
Pear Deck is offering free premium services for 90 days. Nick said this yesterday that Zoom has lifted the 40-minute limit so you could have more than 2 people conference at the same time, so unlimited minutes for multiple users. And Explain Everything with their whiteboard is offering a free trial extension.
How about Screencastify? This is one Geist talked a little bit about in the last episode. If you reach out to them through sales@screencastify.com, or we just did it on Twitter, they haven't officially said that they'll be giving away free premium, but they did say they'll do whatever they can, which to me means they'll keep giving away free subscriptions until it gets unmanageable for them or something else stops them from doing it. But definitely reach out to those guys if screencasting is something you want to try to incorporate. There's also BrainPop. BrainPop is a good repository for fun educational games. If you want to keep it light, obviously a big part of this is just the anxiety that we're all dealing with through the pandemic, and the students are no different. So why not have them play some games for some of their online activities? And BrainPop has made those available for free to any schools affected by the coronavirus. So there's that. And the last one that I'll talk about is Discovery Education. And of course, Discovery Education has so many online resources, typically that you have to sign up for, and some you actually have to pay for. There's a lot of free ones too, though. But they've opened up a lot of these. They just need your principal or superintendent, so somebody in the administration, to reach out and email them at educationpartnerships@discoveryed.com to gain access. So maybe have a supervisor do that for you to see what Discovery Ed has to offer.
So the last one that we'll talk about is Edgy. Edgy we talked about yesterday, but they're offering Edgy Hero, which is their premium service, for 6 months. And what they're doing is having you do like a little training in order to get that. Now, don't be thrown off by the training. It doesn't take that long to accomplish. I did it yesterday in maybe 20 minutes. I would recommend doing that. By doing that training, it's really showing you how to use and go through like a little pilot of Edgy. So I think it's well worth it. And then you can put in your Twitter that you are an Edgy hero as part of your description. Before we wrap up, we want to ask everybody to do us a couple of favors. First is subscribe to GotTech the Podcast on any of the podcast providers out there. We're on all of them. We even made a YouTube channel that we throw our episodes on as well. Write us an Apple Podcast review if you have time. I know we're going through tough times. And lastly, share our podcast with your friends, especially if you think that they would benefit from anything that we've gone over the last 2 episodes. Just give them a resource, our website that we made, or just this list of free EdTech resources or EdTech tools that we've gone over today. All you have to do is share our Twitter with them and, let them check us out for themselves. But we're very grateful for those that have rated us on iTunes or have subscribed to us on the major podcast players. We appreciate the support, and really that's the reason why we keep making these, is we know that people are seeing value in this show. So until next time, check us out at GotTech.com or follow us on Twitter at WeGotTech.
Thanks for listening to GotTech the Podcast. Remember to subscribe to our show and follow us at We Got Tech on Twitter so you can stay up to date with the latest episode releases, blog posts, product reviews, and PD announcements. You can also follow Geis and I individually at Geis Got Tech and at Nick Got Tech on Twitter or on Instagram at Nick Got Tech. Finally, remember to check out our website, GotTechED.com, where we post all our episodes, articles, and resources available to you for free. Until next time.